Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
In the wake of 9/11, the United States launched a global war on terror, an unprecedented military campaign aimed at dismantling terrorist networks across the globe. But what happens when your enemy isn't a country or a standing army, but an idea, one embedded in villages, mountains, and cities, passed along through ideology rather than uniforms? The war was not against a state, but against a shadowy, shifty target that defied conventional warfare. On September 20th, 2001, President George W. Bush addressed Congress and the American people with a chilling ultimatum. Either you are with us, or you're with the terrorists. The global war on terror had begun. Overnight, a new framework for global engagement was established, one that blurred the lines between national defense and preemptive aggression, between justice and vengeance. What followed was a cascade of military operations, sweeping legislation like the Patriot Act, and a redefinition of how America saw the world and itself. Counterinsurgency is not conventional warfare. It's not about seizing capitals or toppling regimes. It's about fighting insurgents who don't wear uniforms, who hide among civilians, who strike suddenly and disappear just as fast. And it's about doing more than fighting. It's about governing, protecting, and persuading. The United States first embraced COIN in the Vietnam War under the slogan, "Winning Hearts and Minds." That meant protecting villagers, building infrastructure, and gaining trust before insurgents could. But in Vietnam, this strategy faltered. Widespread bombing, government corruption, and shifting public opinion undermined the effort. Still, the idea endured. After 9/11, counterinsurgency made a dramatic return, this time not in a jungle, but in deserts and cities halfway across the globe. U.S. forces in Iraq and Afghanistan were once again tasked not only with defeating enemies, but with stabilizing entire societies. Schools were rebuilt, tribal leaders courted, and soldiers became de facto diplomats. The mission was clear: deny insurgents safe haven by winning over the population. Yet for all its ambition, COIN of the 21st century faced many of the same obstacles as before: cultural misunderstandings, fragile local governments, and the sheer complexity of nation building and hostile territory revealed the limits of military power. As the wars dragged on, the challenge remained: how do you defeat an enemy who doesn't just fight, but persuades, recruits, and waits? In 2003, the US invaded Iraq, quickly toppling Saddam Hussein. But what followed wasn't peace, it was chaos. Militias, jihadists, and ex-regime loyalists filled the power vacuum. By 2006, Iraq was heading towards civil war. That's when General David Petraeus introduced a new COIN doctrine through Field Manual 324. His central idea was paradoxical. Sometimes, the more you protect your force, the less secure you may be. Rather than remain behind bases, U.S. forces embedded in Iraqi communities. They patrolled neighborhoods, rebuilt infrastructure, trained local security forces, and partnered with tribal leaders. This was a 2007 surge: 30,000 additional troops aimed at stabilizing Iraq through a new approach. In the short term, it worked. Violence dropped, markets reopened, and civilians began to cooperate. But Petraeus himself warned that military success would mean little without lasting political reconciliation. And that's exactly what failed to materialize. After U.S. withdrawal, the Iraqi government faltered. And eventually, ISIS rose from the vacuum. Tactical victory had not become a strategic success. In Afghanistan, the story was even harder. The Taliban were not merely insurgents. They were part of daily life in much of the countryside. Afghanistan was a tough country with a corrupt government and extremely lacking infrastructure. In 2009, General Stanley McChrystal attempted to reintegrate coin. More troops, less air power, and more interaction with civilians. The idea was to win over the locals, secure the populace, and give time to Afghan institutions to become more effective. But the Taliban enjoyed a strong advantage. Time. Years went by, and U.S. credibility thinned out. Civilians remained wary. Government services did not extend to many areas. Despite the billions spent, the underlying political issues still were not solved. After 20 years of war and over $2 trillion spent, the Taliban regained control in 2021, nearly 2 decades after their initial defeat. So what can we take from all this? First, counterinsurgency is not a magic formula. It requires not only military precision, but long-term commitment, a deep cultural understanding, and credible political partners. Without those, even the best tactics collapse. Second, military force cannot manufacture legitimacy. You cannot win hearts and minds if the people don't believe in the government you're defending. And legitimacy, once lost, is almost impossible to regain with guns alone. Third, American political will is not built for generational conflict. Counterinsurgency requires years, sometimes decades. But American public opinion shifts quickly. Wars begun with unity, often end with fatigue and withdrawal. These lessons raise hard questions about the limits of American power. Can a foreign military ever truly change the political culture of another nation? Can outside forces fix what is, at its core, a domestic struggle for identity, power, and legitimacy? The surge showed that shoulders can open a window of opportunity. They can't walk through it for someone else. None of this is entirely new. In Vietnam, we saw the same pattern: an insurgency underestimated, a government propped up but never trusted, and a public that turned against the war with no clear end. And yet history repeated. In both Vietnam and the global war on terror, we tried to impose stability from the outside, believing doctrine and firepower could substitute for social cohesion and legitimate government. But counterinsurgency works best when it's led locally, not imposed by foreign armies. It works when political strategy derives military operations, not the reverse. And it works when the mission is clear, limited, and grounded in reality, not open-ended and idealistic. Today, the United States is shifting its focus from counterinsurgency to great power competition, cyber warfare, and technological threats. But the lessons of Iraq and Afghanistan must not fade, because in the end, counterinsurgency taught us something vital. Winning battles is not the same as winning wars, and some wars, especially those waged against ideas, may not be won at all.